I was down. I didn't know how far they wanted to go with it. So I kind of was like, just watching, waiting, seeing what would happen. And, it took a little while as, time will go past and everybody's doing their own thing. And next thing you know, I thought you guys had stopped doing it, actually. So, word. So it's like, when I realized you guys are still doing it, I'm like, they're still doing the same thing, the same film. So it didn't go away. I was like, it didn't go away. So I was like, oh, okay, let's revisit it. Sat down and got down with them and did an interview, and then we were just talking about it. And then for another 4 years passed, and they're still doing it. And I'm like, all right, now's the time. It's like, let's do it. We sat down and talked about it, and they showed me some more clips, and I went in. I went in with them.
Were there other filmmakers trying to hit you up?
No, I can't recall like who, but it was probably a few people who wanted to do some stuff. Again, it was like I'd have to see how serious they were about it, if they were really onto it, or if it's just something they want to do. A lot of people would want to do stuff just to make the money, like, or just offer me money to do something on my album or my life, and I was never into that. This was about something that was real between these two guys, and I sensed that, I knew that, and I was in.
Were you happy with the results?
It's a real miracle when you think about the ones who didn't make it here. So you have to make this time here mean something. It has to mean something, some purpose. And I was a young guy who was driven to be heard. And these guys heard me, and they loved the album. And here we are today, because of that love that they have for the music and for that album. So yeah, watching the film blew me away, took me back to why I even got into the business, why I even wanted to do it, and showed me the time period where things was mad different. Like back then it wasn't, I'm gonna get rich tomorrow. It was about getting some money, but it wasn't like I'm gonna get super rich tomorrow, because that would be against the mission. The mission was to give the people the story after Chuck D, after Eric B, after Coogee Rap, after Ice Cube. The 90s were opening up, and there was a new world, and we were sort of like reporters that came after them, those greats from that era before me. So to remember that was refreshing, because today you can kind of forget. It was great to see this film, to remember the beginnings of this. And there was no blueprint to it. It went from rap superstars to, hey, here I am, album cover, projects. There was no Rolls Royce on the cover, even though one of my favorite album covers in hip hop is Follow the Leader, when they're sitting on the Rolls Royce. So I love Eric B for that. But this was a different time period where we had something to say, where the fans or the listener could watch us grow. And that was the beginning for me. So it's cool. So I sat back, and it made me want to do a new record. It made me want to do something. It reminded me, like I keep saying, it reminded me where I am today. I needed this movie so it could like say, dog, this is where you are now. Look where you started, and this is where you are now. It gave me my footing, you know what I'm saying, today, so I could remember and continue to do what it's supposed to do what I'm supposed to do in this day and age. And I needed this. I sat down with you guys. You guys had footage of when we shot. I did this Queensbridge album, and I brought everybody to the studio to record, and there's some behind the scenes stuff that was kind of wild. Like some guys who, rest in peace, no longer here. Some guys who got 25 years. That just everybody was hanging out shooting a video, and it was some of the rappers from the neighborhood who was nervous to come, and we was like on the phone with them. Come on, this is gonna be good, and it was great footage, and there was also some footage of me back in '96, I think, and walking around the old neighborhood, and I was about to launch my second album, or I had launched it or something. Something happened, and I was walking around. And my jeans was so baggy, it's like a balloon, like you put a fire under it. I would have just went up in the air. The jeans was so baggy with the Timbs on. And I just looked at those Timbs, and I think about now, like, singers wear Timbs. And sometimes I'm like, those are the Timbs, dog. What you wearing? What are you doing? You can't just put on the Timbs. You don't know what those was about. But nah, it's all up. But those were the scenes that I was like, I want to see that. You guys got to send me that. Still had the chipped tooth and skinny and all of that.
we also just finished the bonus DVD section. So in that we have Nas sitting talking about every track in the album in your words, as well as the producers. So they elaborate more in depth about those studio sessions. We got footage of the Jones family, Super 8 footage we found from like 1959 that we dug up, 51, 50, around that era with your father being like an 11, 12-year-old. We put that in, with your uncle, Ralph, singing. It's amazing. Like he's right at your grandmother's. We put that in we have a lot of bonus stuff. We also have Alicia Keys talking about Illmatic in her words. Same as Pharrell. I mean, there's so many people who really came out that wanted to say how Illmatic affected them as musicians and artists or teachers or whatever. So all of that's in the bonus section.
I think just to add to what I would, all those things, we couldn't tell all the story of the making of the music because that's originally what we started to do, but the story was much bigger than that. Originally, the one thing that's really troubling or a challenge for us is you hear Nas and you hear Time is Illmatic, and you might think it's a story about a rapper and his album, but the story is so much bigger than that, So we had some of the music, normally when you hear a music documentary, you go into the studio in the booth and you get tidbits about how you made this, who scratched on that, and who did this. There's a lot of really minutia about the music making that us music fans love, but that story, we had to sacrifice a lot of that to tell the story of the influences that made Nas who he is, to make that album, because that's the deeper story. And the one thing that we really wanted people to come away with from the film is, while we all celebrate Nas as a genius, as a representative of our generation, who speaks to us and for us in many ways with Illmatic, if we don't really appreciate and understand and make an effort to understand Jungle, to understand the people that Nas was talking about in Illmatic, then we miss a great opportunity to really see it through the eyes and make change. Because so many times, young black men are talked about, he got shot by the cops, or they're in jail at this rate, or dropped out of high school at this rate, but you never get a chance to see it through the eyes of the person who experienced it. And we use Nas's story to do that. So it's really important for us, we sacrifice a lot of that music stuff that 19 talked about in order for us to tell the story of us, not just of Nas,
It's an American story.